Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we are going to be building the final assembly of a small Nomad figure. Nomad is of course from Star Trek the Original Series, the episode The Changeling. The model itself, when completed, will be about 30 centimeters tall, or which should be around 14 inches, I think, something like that. So this is the main model when you just put it together by holding it. You can see here the main body, which is painted in an aluminum silver. This is also version 4 of the Nomad. The first 3 versions were not smooth enough to my liking, so I decided to print it again at a slightly better resolution and then fill it with putty, smooth it out, sand it, putty it again, sand it again, putty it again, sand it again, rinse and repeat, and then give it 3 or 4 coats of the aluminum silver. And for my intents and purposes, this has come out almost perfect. On the inside you can see a latch. That latch is to hold the light core. This is the light core that I built for this. I need to clean up the wiring still a little bit, because these are 2 sections. 4 LEDs in series. These are RGB controlled, and these will display a well, not really random, but a pattern in which the electronics of Nomad will simulate its function. The top 4 LEDs are also in series and RGB controllable and have been programmed to light up these 2 sections in yellow and red, which will blink when Nomad is speaking. Because yes, this model will feature sounds and voice clips of the episode. What this model also will feature is, which is not really canon, but something that I decided to, is a small switch, a simple sliding switch that will be placed in the bottom section. And what this will do is switch between 2 operation modes, or to be more precise, it will switch on and off 1 operation mode, and that operation mode is random speak. So when you turn this on, Nomad will begin to cycle randomly through its audio clips at random interval times. So that way you can just put them on a shelf, power it by a 5-volt DC jack, and then it will continue to speak until you switch that off again, or when your power runs out. The chip that I'm using is an ESP32 microcontroller board, and this microcontroller ESP32 has a Arduino sketch on it that will set up its Wi-Fi connection. The antenna is integrated into the board. When it doesn't detect a network that it knows, it will fire up its own access point. So then you will get, from your phone for example, you can find Nomad setup, I believe that I called it. You connect your phone to it, and then you need to set up your own Wi-Fi credentials for your main network. Once done, you reboot the model, and then you can go to your browser on your phone or computer and go to nomad.local, in which you will be presented a simple website which lists all the audio files that are on the audio board that this links to. And when you click a audio file, it will start to play. And that way you have manual control over what Nomad is speaking and when. Speaking of the audio board, that's this one. It's a mini MP3 board built with a micro SD card. When you place extra files on it, you will need to change the program so that the program knows about these new files. And to do that, I have built it so that you can wirelessly over the air update this board with a new firmware file, which I can then of course provide to Thomas. To make it easier, because this electronics needs some additional components, namely a capacitor and two resistors. These are used to link the speaker output of the MP3 board back into the main controller. Why, you may ask? Well, if you want to blink the LEDs together with the sound, it needs to know when to turn on and off the LEDs. And because the audio is handled by a separate board, the main controller doesn't know when the audio file is speaking. It does know when it is started speaking, but it doesn't know if it is still speaking and what notes it is playing. So it would not know the intensity of the LEDs and when to turn them on and off. So what I do is the audio from the MP3 board, I route it back into the main controller using the additional components to make it a safe level that the controller board can handle. And that way I can just mimic that signal that it receives into the LEDs. So that will make it blink. And to make this easier in soldering this all together, I designed a carrier board. And of course these holes are to align the original microcontroller, the audio board, and then the additional components are through hole, which I will then solder up, and that will be underneath the light core inside of the main body housing. At least that's the idea. This is the head of Nomad, and bear with me because the head still needs the antennas that are normally here. Then the top plate will be glued on the main body. And when that's done, you can take off the head just like so, because there is a magnet here and a magnet there. So I can then, for example, place them together next to each other in the box that I will use with some foam inserts to keep it safe during transport. The top of the antenna on top of the head is also detachable, also again with smaller magnets. And that's because, for example, when the model falls off the shelf or something, it can just detach, and hopefully the antenna part here will stay attached, but if not, it is easier to just reprint this and then stick a new one on. The bottom part also has some magnets, namely here, and that's not to really be able to detach it, but to make it serviceable. So if this, or not if, but when this is installed into the main body, and of course here there will also be a bottom plate on this, then how do you get to the SD card, the micro SD card that will be living here inside of the main body housing? Well, my idea was, by using 3 small magnets, you can pull the bottom part off. Of course there will be wires coming from the switch and the power jack running through here into this hole. So you can't really take it off unless I, for example, include a small connector with it. Could still do that, but I don't have really any good connectors in stock. So you can then in that case just open it up and leave it dangling here, for example. And then this main carrier board will be, let's get that into the holes again. This will be aligned just behind this cutout. And that way you can access the USB-C connector to reprogram the board. But as I said, it's also reprogrammable using the Wi-Fi connection. And you can, with your fingers, get to the micro SD card, pull it out, put it into a card reader on a computer, place some new files on it, and then put the micro SD card back into the model. So yeah, that makes it serviceable. So that's the main board. Main board has been completed. Yep. Every component has been installed. Let's check our mounting solution for this. Let's see if that indeed fits. Which it seems it does not. Ooh. So this ring does not work and will need to be reprinted after I redesign that one.
A few moments later.
I quickly designed up a new mounting solution. Almost the same. This one I glued in place already. It went a little bit wide because of the accelerator spray. But now the tabs are moved over and there is enough space to place the board and still have clearance around the audio board and the main controller. satisfying magnetic attachments. Absolutely love how this model turned out. And I think a great gift for Thomas. Of course, we can view the entire model as we have here. So again, on the back, the power connector. You can open up the model to get to the electronics. All four sides have all the lights, of course. The magnetic head. Magnetic top part of the head. The antenna domes. So this is the program that is running on Nomad. We have a couple of variables, of course. Then we have some pin definitions. We have some integers or interval timings. For example, the blinking interval of the green LEDs are 250 milliseconds. Then the audio trigger for the random audio speak is between 25 and 50 seconds. The reason that I chose that is because the longest audio clip currently is 20 seconds. So that would mean that when the audio clip is done playing, then the next clip will become between 5 seconds and 5 seconds and 30 seconds, as we do the 50 and then minus the 20 of the longest audio clip, which then makes 30 seconds, of course. So it's now making a file that we can use to upload it using the Wi-Fi connection. Okay, compiling is done. Should be in our build folder. And indeed it is. Nomad ESP Ino bin, created today. So excellent. So let's go to nomad.local. Here we have the Nomad control page. And of course, when I select a audio file,
I am perfect. I am Nomad. You are in error. You are a biological unit. You are imperfect.
it plays, but now still at the old volume. And we can also go to nomad.local/OTA, which then requests a username and a password. Upload page, we can select a file. In this file, I'm going to, nope, that's not the correct one. This one, this one, this one. And then the file, upload. And then I click the upload button. And here it uploads the file to the microcontroller. After which it starts the update process. The LEDs stop blinking. We hear the speaker, and now it's updated and rebooted. So going back to our normal page, if I now select that same file,
surrounds them. It too is imperfect, but can be adjusted. I am perfect. I am Nomad. You are in error. You are a biological unit. You are imperfect.
It is louder, but I think I prefer it if it's still a little bit more than this. So let's go to max volume.
One eternity later.
And when we go back to our page and we refresh, now I can.
I am perfect. I am Nomad. You are in error. You are a biological unit. You are imperfect.
Much better.
Error, examine. I shall analyze error. Analyze error.
I am programmed to investigate. There is much to be considered before I return to launch point. I must re-evaluate.
So yeah, that's the control panel, and as you can see, I styled it so that it will fit on a phone screen, and maybe I'll tweak it a little bit before sending it out to Thomas, but I think it's a nice way of controlling Nomad. But of course, if you do not want to manually select, you can just switch, and now Nomad will do everything on its own.
That will be satisfactory.
Indeed, Nomad, that will be satisfactory. Well, thank you everybody for watching. I have had a great time building this,